stupid, son?
No, sir.
Yes, you do. You're trying to con a con man. You're not even learning anything on the streets, are you? You come with me.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So Canelo Alvarez, he brought up something that I and a lot of other boxing fans have been talking about for quite some time. Even a question that I've asked Golovkin's trainer over and over directly for the last year or so. I've asked that question: why won't you guys fight Lara? And trainer Abel Sanchez, he's given me many different excuses why they won't fight Lara. But the most hypocritical excuse is when Abel Sanchez told me that he believes that Willie Monroe is bigger than Lara. This is what Abel Sanchez told me. I still have the interview on my channel. He told me that Willie Monroe is a bigger name than Lara. This is after Lara had already fought on pay-per-view against Canelo Alvarez. Despite the fact that Lara, he's fought on big boxing networks 5 times more than Willie Monroe has, so we know who's gotten way more exposure. This is the excuse that Abel Sanchez used. Now, before I go ahead and talk about what Canelo Alvarez had to say about Golovkin against Lara, I want to make it clear, if you guys pay attention to the excuses that Gennady Golovkin or Golovkin's trainer or promoter, the excuses they make for why they're not fighting Lara is never congruent with the excuses that you often hear emotionally attached fans use on the streets or on the internet. Just think about that for a second. Now, let's get into what Canelo Alvarez had to say on this matter. Quote, Lara is one of the names out there, a 154-pounder, a great fighter that I fought. He's a great, great fighter. He's calling him out, Golovkin that is, he's calling him out, he isn't taking the challenge. And he's a great fighter. Lara would give Golovkin a lot of problems. End quote. Now, the first thing I want to say is, listen, we all know that Canelo Alvarez has contradicted himself, and he's no doubt about it a hypocrite when it comes to the whole Gennady Golovkin situation. We know that already. But with that being said, you would have to admit what I just read to you right now, what Canelo Alvarez just said, it made sense. There's no doubt about it, it made sense. We've heard Canelo Alvarez say on numerous occasions he has a better resume than Gennady Golovkin. He's asked the question to the media over and over again, who has Gennady Golovkin beat? This is what Canelo Alvarez and his team have said repeatedly. And once again, I would have to say, no matter what you think about Canelo Alvarez or Gennady Golovkin, if Canelo Alvarez and Golovkin were to just retire and stop boxing, give up boxing today, who would you say has a better resume? There's no doubt about it, Canelo Alvarez has a much better resume than Gennady Golovkin. And keep in mind, Canelo Alvarez is 8 years younger than Golovkin. So the question is, how are you 8 years younger than someone and you have a better resume than them? I mean, just think about this for a second. How is it possible that while Golovkin fights often 4 times a year, Canelo is usually fighting twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year, but most of the time it's twice a year? With that being said, how is it possible Canelo still has a better resume than Golovkin when Golovkin fights a lot more frequently than Canelo does? If you really think about it, it makes no sense. And there is no reason why a 34-year-old Gennady Golovkin should have a resume that is weaker than a Canelo Alvarez. Now, don't get me wrong. When it comes to Canelo Alvarez, you know, me and a lot of other people believe that Lara beat him. But that's besides the point. It's the fact that Canelo Alvarez, he's fought the man. On top of that, he's fought Austin Trout as well. And right now, Gennady Golovkin's best opponent on his resume is a welterweight fighter named Kell Brook. So what Canelo Alvarez is saying makes all the sense in the world. But once again, that does not alleviate Canelo from being a hypocrite, because we know that he is one. For example, even with him saying that Lara is a great fighter. If Lara is a great fighter, and the fight that you guys had ended in controversy, why would you not give this great fighter a rematch? You see what I'm saying? That's because Canelo Alvarez, like he just said, Lara's a great fighter, and Canelo truly believes that a rematch with Lara would be way too much of a risk, and he may not beat him because he knows that he could have lost that first fight if he did not have the judges backing him. Because one of the judges, and I forgot his name, but I talked about it after the fight, one of the judges that was from New Mexico, he had Canelo Alvarez winning almost every single round. So we know what time it is when it comes to that Canelo versus Lara fight. With that all being said, when it comes to Gennady Golovkin versus Lara, it does not matter who you guys think will win that fight. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is that Gennady Golovkin fights Lara. It does not matter who you think is going to win the fight, right? Because that's like me telling you I think Ward can beat Sergey Kovalev, but if Ward is not fighting Sergey Kovalev, then there's really no reason to talk about it. You have to show and prove at the end of the day. And this is why the decafs that defend Golovkin for not fighting Lara, they contradict themselves and they never make any sense. Because when you say something stupid like, oh, Golovkin would beat Lara easy, so there's no reason to fight him, that doesn't make sense. Because you felt that way when Golovkin fought everyone. Didn't you feel that way when Golovkin fought Rubio? When he fought Monroe? When he fought Lemieux, Adama? You felt he would beat those guys, right? But you had no problem with that fight. So how do you sit over here as a boxing fan and have a problem with the guy you're rooting for stepping up in competition? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. That's like me telling you that I don't want to see Errol Spence fight Keith Thurman, Kell Brook, or whoever is there that would really challenge Errol Spence. No, I want to see those fights. As a boxing fan, I want to see the best fight the best, no matter who wins. No matter who wins. So it really doesn't make any sense when Gennady Golovkin, who's supposed to be the most dangerous, the strongest fighter, one of the strongest punchers in the sport of boxing, and this is the guy that fans wants to be protected. I mean, fans, they literally want Gennady Golovkin to face weaker competition. We see the comments all the time. We hear fans talk about it every time. When you hear a fan say, hey man, there's no reason for him to move up to a higher weight class, he should just stay there at the middleweight division. But the same fan who will tell you that, he will admit that no one wants to fight him at the middleweight division. So let me get this straight. You admit that no one will fight Golovkin at the middleweight division, right? But you would prefer that he stay in a division where no one will fight him instead of moving up to a higher weight class and facing opponents that actually want to fight Gennady Golovkin. How does that make any sense in the world? How does that make any sense? Now, once again, since you decafs love to compare Gennady Golovkin to fighters you don't like Floyd Mayweather, let's just look at the dichotomy of Floyd Mayweather versus Golovkin when it comes to accomplishments, resume, etc., etc. Now, I find it so ironic that the same fans that will say, hey man, stop hating on Gennady Golovkin, you're just hating. The same fans that said that are the same fans that hated Floyd Mayweather's guts. And when you ask them why they hated Floyd Mayweather so much, they would say because he's a cherry picker, because he's overrated, because he's a runner, because etc., 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 right? But the main reason they would say they hate him is because he's trying to protect his undefeated record, this and that, this and that. How does it logically make any sense that you're going to praise Gennady Golovkin, who hasn't done anywhere near as much as Floyd Mayweather has done, but then you want to turn around and you want to call Floyd Mayweather a cherry picker? This is how we know what time it is. This is how, once again, we know that it has nothing to do with boxing. When you hear fans make these type of contradictions, right? It's okay for a feather-fisted Floyd Mayweather to move up 5 weight classes, fight guys that are 15 to 20 pounds bigger than him, stronger than him, younger than him. But when it comes to one of the hardest punchers in the entire sport, you want him to stay in the middleweight or at the middleweight division. Even if no one will fight him at the middleweight division, you prefer him fight nobodies for the rest of his career just to guarantee he continues to win. Hypocrisy at its finest. Hypocrisy at its finest. I told you guys before Floyd Mayweather agreed to fight Manny Pacquiao, you had media members along with boxing fans that were talking about how they didn't like Floyd because all he wanted to do was protect his undefeated record, etc., etc. And now we find out that it was you all along that wanted to have a fighter that you personally liked and wanted to root for, and you deep down wanted to protect that guy's record. You wanted to protect his record. So at the end of the day, this video is not to try to protect Canelo Alvarez from Gennady Golovkin, but when I hear someone say something that makes sense, I'm going to tell you that it makes sense. And that is what you call being impartial. Speaking of Canelo Alvarez saying something that makes sense, let me read something else he said in this same article. Canelo said, quote, 154 pounds is my weight. I'm taking care of my career step by step, and I'm going in the direction I'm going. The direction of my career, not the direction of any other fighter. Right now, it's 154, and eventually, I'll get there to 160. But it'll be at my pace and in my time because it's my career. End quote. Something that stands out to me is one word in that whole piece, and that is my. It's my career, it's my pace, when I feel like moving up, etc., etc. I like the fact that Canelo cleared that up, that it is at his pace. You know why it's important he clears that up? Because now we know, I mean, I've already known, but now we know for a fact that these are Canelo Alvarez's decisions when he decides not to fight Gennady Golovkin. This is all Canelo Alvarez, okay? It has nothing to do with Oscar De La Hoya pulling strings. Fans cannot sit here and say it's only because of Oscar De La Hoya, Canelo really wants to fight him. No. Canelo Alvarez has said on numerous occasions, it's my decision, it's my pace. When my body is ready to move up to 160, that's when I'll fight Gennady Golovkin. You can even go back to the post-fight press conference after the Canelo versus Cotto fight, and you hear Oscar De La Hoya say, you know, I gotta go to Canelo Alvarez and, you know, see if that's what he wants next. He said that. So once again, we know that this is Canelo Alvarez that is in the driver's seat. So with that all being said, that's pretty much all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.
This is Bobby, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
Love that.